Hi, welcome back to Oversharing with Laura. So I knew I wanted to do a video this weekend, but um, I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go next. There were some subjects that I thought I really need to get those out of the way because I think I'm going to be referencing them off and on over and over through other videos. But then I was like, well, those are going to be like really big subjects. Maybe I need to break them up into smaller chunks, but I don't know how to break them up yet. Maybe I need to explain it a little bit more. Maybe I need to research it a little bit more before I try to talk about it. Maybe I should do something else. This might be kind of fun, a little more interesting for people. Maybe this would apply to more as opposed to just a select group. So therefore it might be more useful. So I'm debating, I'm thinking about making lists, I'm thinking about pros and cons and everything. And then all of a sudden it was like a light bulb went off. And I realized I know what to make my next video about. Welcome to Choice Paralysis. So what is choice paralysis? It's basically where you have so many options. It's almost impossible to choose. And you get caught in this loop, kind of never-ending loop of which is the better choice. Is it this one? Is it that one? I like this a lot, but maybe it won't work. Or once you've made a choice, going with it for a little while and then thinking, no, this isn't it. That's not right. I'm going to try another one, and then trying another one very briefly without really giving it a chance and saying, no, this isn't it. It's not right. And then you keep doing that and that and that. And nothing ever gets accomplished because often by the time you've made a choice or even haven't, your time, your energy, your motivation is all gone and nothing has been accomplished. So the thing about choice paralysis is that it happens to everyone. It is a problem not just for neurodiverse people, but for neurotypical people as well. However, it can be especially paralyzing to those of us who have ADHD. Because the truth is that while some people struggle to come up with ideas, we have ideas pouring out 24/7, like a faucet that will not turn off. I mean, there is creativity exploding from our brains. And that's awesome. I mean, it's one of the really good things about having ADHD, that you see the world differently. You see potential everywhere. There are possibilities, infinite possibilities. And oftentimes it's really frustrating because you have so many ideas and not even in 100 lifetimes, if you were functioning, could you do all the things you want to do, fulfill all the ideas that you want to try. But therein we get to the problem. How do you make a choice when you know that some of this stuff is never going to happen, even though it seems really, really fun and really, really exciting? Is it possible to even do? And when you have an array of things that all seem equally fun and exciting and really cool, how do you make that choice? Especially when you know that your time is limited, your motivation is limited. Like when you get started, just ignore my cats. You just know that you have a certain amount of time that you're going to be able to get something done. And once that time's over, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. And also just knowing that your energy levels are probably going to be pretty low in any free time you have because you've expended so much just existing in the world. So when you do have a few moments to spare and you're thinking, what do I do with this? Maybe you have a sudden spark of inspiration, and you know this moment I've got to get up, I've got to do something. And as an artist, I always equate this with I've got to make something. I want to create. And you know that fire is really burning, but you want to do all the things all at once and you can't. Um it's frustrating. And so while the cool thing about ADHD is that brainstorming is never a problem, there's like a brainstorm going on in my head 24/7. The not so cool thing about ADHD is that sometimes that brainstorm is like hurricane level. And instead of that helping me, I'm just getting blown around all over the place. So, how do we take that choice paralysis? And, you know, we've seen the positive side that, you know, the reason we're having it is because we have so many cool ideas and we are thinking so far outside of the box. We are never at a loss for ideas, new creative things. Bonus, but how do we deal with that negative? What are some strategies that we can use? So I am not always successful at these things. Not going to lie about that. But I do have some strategies that I use for different occasions. And I'm going to talk about three things. One is when I want to make things. One is when I kind of want to zone out, relax. And then the other one is when I want to do things. And these are all choice paralysis traps. I mean, they're like a those pits, you know, you're walking through the jungle and all of a sudden the ground falls out below you. That's how it feels. Okay, so if I want to make something, I know that that is like my preferred thing, my hobby. I want to do an art, I want to do a craft, and I want to try all of it. That's why I'm one of those, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, that kind of thing. I don't want to invest the time to become a true master in something, because then I'm not using that time to try new cool things that look fun. So what I try to do is always have something on hand that I know I enjoy. It's like my fallback thing. And I discovered a few years ago that one of the hobbies that has stuck with me for the longest time, probably of my entire life, is crochet. And it is, and I think this is really the reason why it stuck around so long, it's a STEM. I can do it while doing other things at the same time. And so that makes it especially useful to me. It's both calming and stimulating. So what I try to do is, even when I'm out and about, always have that stuff on hand. And I actually have, this is a pretty cool thing, on my keychain, I have these, it was like a crochet hook keychain that has like 3 different sizes of crochet hooks like attached to it. Literally all I need is a string. And I have those hooks with me at all times because I have my keys with me. And so I'm always ready to do something, and that can keep me busy. But also if I'm just like in one of these explosion moods, because sometimes it will be like, I want to do this and I want to do it right now. And I'm, you know, digging through all of my stuff and I'm missing like one thing that I need, one material. And it's a tragedy, right? And by the time I would procure that material, I would lose motivation, and then I would kind of fall into this creative pit, like a depression, because I didn't get to do what I wanted when I wanted it. So if I'm in one of those situations, I automatically do my fallback activity, and that's crochet. Even if I'm making something without any purpose, and I know good and well I'm not going to finish it, I find a texture, I find a color, I find a pattern that is appealing to me, and I'm still going to get something out of that. So if I'm trying to make decisions and I can't, or if I'm wanting to do something without having the ability to do it at that second, having my fallback activity ready to go no matter where I am is the best option. Another thing that I will do, and this is if I'm like at work, I'm a teacher, and I'm not going to pull out crochet necessarily. I do sometimes, but I will always keep graph paper and markers with me, and just doing pixels, coloring pixels helps too, because I can be creative with that, even if I'm not going to, pull out the paints and the canvas and just start, going at that. It gives me something that I can create, kind of like a doodle that people do. Okay, so if it's not a situation where I want to make something, maybe it's a situation where I have some downtime. I need to zone out a little bit. I know I want to do, one of two things. Typically, I want to binge watch something. And be aware that when I binge watch something, I'm always doing something else with my hands, or I'm not paying attention to anything. But I want to binge watch something, or I want to play video games, because I love both of those things. And oftentimes, if I go into it just like I'm going to turn it on and see what's there, I'm not going to watch or play anything, because I'm going to spend all of my time looking at options and debating them and going back to this one. Do I want that one? Maybe even I start it and I'm like, no, this doesn't feel right. Maybe I should try one of those others. And then, looking and looking and looking. So I do this with books too. I love to read on my Kindle app. So what I've found is that every once in a while, I will just peruse. I'll go through available options on like Netflix or on my Kindle app, or, video games that I know are coming out that maybe I want to play. I'll do my research then, and I'll come up with a list. On my Kindle app, I'll screenshot it. I will take a picture of, the Netflix description of shows that I might be interested in watching. And I'll have like a folder that I keep these information in. So when I get to the point where I have some downtime and I know I want to do something, but I don't want to get overwhelmed by opening that up and thinking, what do I do? I now have a smaller selection to deal with. And that is real helpful, because I've already eliminated a lot of stuff. And yeah, I might be missing out on something, but I can pick that up later. With this smaller selection now, I can whiffle waffle and go through my pros and cons and whatever. And I can try a few to see if they fit me at that moment. But it's not that overwhelming amount. It's just too much. Even for like a regular neurotypical person, I think it's too much. Okay, so let's say it's an activity that you want to do. And you just got a bunch of energy and you want to get it out. And you have decided maybe you've decided you want to do something that is out of reach. So, and I'm just going to use this off the top of my head. I promise this is not an example from my life. But let's say you have decided you want to get up, you want to be active, you want to be outside. That is the craving that you're having. And you're thinking, what do I want to do? I could go to the park, I could walk, I could go hiking, I could go canoeing, I could go rock climbing. Oh my gosh, that looks fun. It really doesn't. I don't know why anyone wants to do it, but let's say that's the one you've hit on. I do this often where I get in mind something that I really want to do. And this is not so much a choice paralysis issue, but more of like a task paralysis, which I'll have a whole video on. But in this case, I start thinking about it and I start planning and researching, and I'll have Pinterest boards, and I will have, like Amazon wish lists and all kinds of stuff. I'll start buying supplies and products and things. And I'm not saying just go out and start rock climbing with no training or supplies. That would be terribly dangerous. But if you get to the point where you have that motivation and you have that energy and you have settled on something that you know is not realistic, just kind of like with that making something not realistic at this time, you can fall into this pit of, I'm going to do nothing. And that's not healthy, especially for an ADHD person, to stagnate that way, and it can become really crippling. So just do an alternative. So I can't go rock climbing now. Not that I ever would. But I can go to the park and I can walk on the trail. It's still getting up, it's moving, it's being outdoors in some fresh air. Maybe I can't do the oil painting that I would love, or I don't have all of the supplies that I need for punch needling, but I have a ball of yarn in my purse and some crochet hooks on my keychain. I can do that right now. And I can do something. I'll make a coaster. I'll make a washcloth. I will make just a pretty thing. Maybe I'll make a little stuffed animal or something. Having something you can fall back on that is gonna give you some kind of stimulation, even if it isn't first choice, you can really get stuck in what is the best choice and end up making no useful choice. And for me, that's the biggest danger of choice paralysis, is that I end up doing nothing. And I don't know if any of that stuff will help any of you. It helps me some of the time. And I think, I'm going to try to really push those strategies more in my life. I've only recently developed them. So I'm really trying hard. And, maybe if you find that any of those strategies help you, let me know. And also, if you have some that work for you for when you have way too many ideas and way too many options to the point that it's paralyzing, please share those with me, because I might could use them as well. And I have no idea what my next video is going to be about, because like I said, I have a lot of lists to make and a lot of pros and cons, and I don't know, maybe some research or something to do, whatever. But I will see you next time for another video about something about being neurodiverse. So thank you for joining me. Bye.